Sorry, starting a new video, I accidentally turned the camera off when I went to fix the phone as it kept falling over. Alright, so chapter 3, the Hermetic Principles, it's about seven pages long or so, and I go pretty in-depth in a short amount of words. You know, I'm very clear and concise, but I break down each Hermetic Principle, you know, pretty well, and then I go into the 8th Hermetic Principle, which is the hidden Hermetic Principle, the Generative Principle. Now, chapter 4, the Tree of Life, I go really in depth. I talk about the Empyrean Heaven. I cover the Ein, which is about 2 paragraphs long, the Ein Sof, another 2 or 3 paragraphs, Ein Sof Or, and then I go over the entire Tree of Life. So starting from the original tree itself, before there was even a Malkuth, and then I cover Kether, you know, about a half page or so to a page each of each Sephiroth, going all the way down to Malkuth. And then let me see how many pages long this chapter is. So this is still part of the $5 tier. You know, $5 a month, however many months you would want to pay that for. You're getting all this though, so it's a lot of stuff. Let me go ahead and read the section I have on the Ein, or at least the first paragraph. That way you get a small taste of this chapter. So the Empyrean Heaven, Ein, A-I-N is how it's spelled. The first 3 layers of existence above the Tree of Life are collectively known as the Empyrean Heaven. The Empyrean Heaven and the 9 spheres on the Tree of Life are featured in Dante's Paradiso. Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the fixed stars, and the Primum Mobile, or Kether. The Empyrean Heaven, the outer 3 layers, consists of the Ein, Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or. The first layer, called Ein, is commonly understood as the no thing or void. This is slightly misleading. This is, quote, God, the creator or primordial chaos, darkness itself, which is totally immutable and unchangeable. It exists outside of the sphere of creation altogether, as something which cannot be comprehended by any but the most holy and high adepts. Even then, it can only be perceived as darkness because it is at a level of creation we can hardly conceive of. It is rather difficult, if not impossible, to imagine no thing, for there has always been something to us. So there you go. That was actually just one paragraph talking about the Ein there. But the Tree of Life chapter, let's see how long it is. It's about... It's a longer chapter. 6, 7... So it looks like it's about 14 and a half pages long or so. So it's a much longer chapter. Chapter 5, you know, to understand the Tree of Life in its entirety, you also have to understand the Tree of Death, the Qliphoth. So chapter 5 is set up just like chapter 4, except instead of talking about the Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, it's talking about the shells on the Tree of Death. And that way you kind of have a roadmap of the entire tree. And so each sphere, I probably have about, you know, 1 page each for each sphere of the Tree of Death. So this is still part of the $5 tier. It's the last full chapter that you get of the audiobook. So let me see how many pages this consists of. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so about 14 pages long. It's a pretty long chapter, actually. All right, and then chapter 6, the Entered Apprentice Degree. So part 1 of this chapter is part of the $5 tier now. I changed that. And if you want part 2 and part 3 of this chapter, that is part of the $10 tier now. So let me go ahead and read the first chapter of the Entered Apprentice degree. And remember, most of this information, it's a mix of my own personal understandings, from, what I know from being involved in the fraternity, a lot of other Masonic works, and also Grand Lodge resources, and just my general knowledge of esoterica and magic and all these things. So it's basically a culmination of all this different information and knowledge that I am sharing in the chapter. So it's like summarizing a lot of just the key components of some of the symbolism, in the degree. But it gives you a pretty good view of everything you would really need to know. It's bringing a lot of information and compartmentalizing it and condensing it so it's easy to understand, yet it's still rich in symbolism. You're still getting an education on it. So chapter 6, the Entered Apprentice degree, I'll read the first paragraph here. The Entered Apprentice degree is the first degree of Blue Lodge Masonry. For convenience sake, we will refer to the Entered Apprentice as EA. Notice that in the title of the degree itself, we see the words entered and apprentice. A potential candidate for the mysteries of Freemasonry is someone who is entering upon a particular undertaking and entering into a new stage of life or existence. We find this theme of rebirth, metamorphosis, and transformation heavily incorporated within the archetype of Scorpio. An apprentice is someone who has just embarked upon the journey of their particular craft, whether they be a physical builder, craftsman, speculative mason, philosopher, musician, or even a Jedi. It doesn't matter. What's important is how someone uses the energy generated by these archetypal, geometric, ceremonial, ritualistic, and dramatic methods in order to positively build their environment and the world around them, learning to become a servant of our highest selves. In parentheses, the parent of all, supreme oneness, in order to serve and tend to the garden of humanity as best we can, is the ultimate goal we can achieve here while on earth. So that is the first paragraph of that chapter, chapter 6. And let's see how many pages this is roughly. I know it's a longer one too. It's at least 12 pages long. I scrolled through that. 15. It's a really good chapter. It really is. You get a lot of information from a lot of different resources. 18, all brought together. So it's actually about almost 22 pages long, that chapter. So you have to pay $10 to get part 2 and part 3 of the chapter, but it's still a great value. Now, if you pay the $10, you get part 2 and part 3 of that chapter, the EA or the Entered Apprentice. And then with the $10, you also get access to chapter 7, the Fellowcraft degree, which is very similar, to I'll read the first paragraph of the Fellowcraft degree. The Fellowcraft degree symbolizes the second phase of human life, the transitioning from childhood into adulthood. Responsibility within one's station in life become realized, and the intellect must be sculptured and fashioned into a more perfect ashlar. In this way, society can be better served, and mutual illumination may pave the way for his fellow man and himself. William Preston was a very influential character in the formation of the Fellowcraft degree and urged men to advance their education in the study of the liberal arts and sciences. The Entered Apprentice degree encompassed the body and our faculties of action in the world. The Fellowcraft degree deals more with science, arts, and the intellect. So there you go. That's the first chapter, and let's see how long that chapter is. It's about... about 12 pages. And then chapter 8 is also part of the $10 tier. That's like, I consider that like the magnum opus pretty much of the book so far. And part 1 of it's going to be a 3-part book eventually. It's going to take years to write, but part 1 of Freemasonry Ceremonial High Magic is pretty much it's all done. I just need to go through and re-edit it, do some things to it, and then eventually I'll have it in PDF form. But you're getting it really cheap on the Patreon, just $10 for the audiobook of all the first 8 chapters. And it's probably I think you're getting like 100, roughly, it's like 100 pages, 100 to 110 pages of information, so it's a lot. It's a great value. In this last chapter, I'll read the first paragraph of chapter 8. The Master Mason degree is known as the Sublime degree. Sublime means exalted or elevated so as to inspire awe and wonder. It also refers to the alchemical process of sublimation that, like distillation, requires a volatilization, that's a hard word to say, requires a volatilization of a substance that rises and reforms at a higher level. It is the removal of everything that keeps us from rising to that state where the soul communes with the supreme light. It is crucial to remember that I am not revealing any, quote, secrets, but I will be going over the characters, symbolism, and the lore of this degree, which may act as a spoiler for those who are wanting to undergo the ritual and become a brother. If you want to experience the full effect of the 3rd degree, I recommend waiting to read this section and further sections until you undergo the ceremony. If you so choose, go ahead and skip to the section on ceremonial magic practices and archangels, which will be, that would actually be in part 3 of the whole book, Freemasonry Ceremonial High Magic. So that's a long ways down the road until I get to that part. So that's the first paragraph, just the first paragraph of chapter 8. And how many pages is it? Let's see. It's a lot, I think. Not as many as the Entered Apprentice one chapter. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, it's about 21 pages long. It's a pretty long chapter. So yeah, the whole document, that you're getting for only $10 a month, and you can pay it just 1 month and then listen to the whole audiobook if you want, and then you don't have to pay after that. But if you want to, keep supporting me and my work, or if you just, need longer to listen to it, you'll have to pay an extra month, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, so it's about 108 pages or so. And then some of my references, I'll go ahead and read you some of the references that I use for writing it. Definitely Angels and Archangels, A Magician's Guide by Damien Eccles is a reference. And I have all the references listed at the end of chapter 8, but it wasn't a part of the audiobook itself. It will be, when I release the PDF. It'll be on there, all the references. Modern Magic, of course, by Donald Michael Craig, is an important reference. The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Some information from the Emerald Tablets. Yeah, and for the most part, those are the main morals and dogma as well. That's an important one. The Hiram Key, there's a couple other important references. But yeah, this book overall, it's just me, pulling all these different, bits of information together and then explaining it as best I can, the link between, Freemasonry and high magic, and what are the similarities, because there are a lot of similarities, and what are the differences. So, that's what my Patreon's all about. Also a 4-part video on how to perform the lesser invoking ritual of pentagrams on there as well. But very soon I want to make a video, just on my YouTube channel, a regular video going over how to perform lesser invoking ritual ritual of the Pentateuch. So, all right, everyone, that is the end of the, I guess, two-part video now about the Patreon and what you can get from the Patreon. So, all right, everyone, thank you for watching, and take care. Until next time.